I'm Nick Snow, watching Government for Oil and Gas Journal in Washington, D.C. Greenland expects its oil, gas, and minerals to be crucial as it continues its gradual transition to independence, its first U.S. representative said on April 3rd. We have begun developing our oil and gas, noted Inutuk Holm Olsen, who began a 5-year assignment at the Danish Embassy in Washington 2 months earlier. The U.S. Geological Survey estimates there are billions of barrels of oil equivalent offshore Greenland, although there have been no commercial finds, he said, during a presentation at George Washington University's Institute for European, Russian, and Eurasian Studies. Since 2002, 25 exploratory wells have been drilled off Greenland, mostly off the west coast, Olsen said. The 4 latest licenses, which were awarded to consortiums in December, were in waters to the east, however. The country began to take control of its domestic affairs soon after it received home rule in 1979. A 2009 act redefined its relationship to Denmark, and one of Greenland's first steps was to take over the rights and responsibilities for its oil, gas, and minerals, Olsen said. It's critical for Greenland to develop its oil, gas, and minerals to become economically self-sufficient, he said. It's also very much a frontier area and very environmentally challenging. We can enter into international agreements that are geographically limited to Greenland and don't involve Denmark. ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, BP, and other oil and gas multinationals have been partners in consortiums buying offshore licenses there. Countries like China and South Korea are already taking much more active roles in countries like Greenland, Olsen said. They're new actors who were not present 5 or 10 years ago. Greenland could be considered a microcosm for the Arctic in terms of challenges as well as opportunities, according to Olsen. He said that the U.S. has been a relatively inactive Arctic Council member until recently, when Secretary of State John F. Kerry appointed its first special Arctic representative 1 year before the U.S. is scheduled to become chairman of the Council. Olsen said the two countries have had a close relationship since World War II, and several U.S. scientists are doing research there. We're studying the movement of ice and the problems it can create for oil and gas operations, he said. We also want to avoid environmental disasters. Our aim is to have a performance-based regulatory regime with the highest standards possible. It's an evolving process with constantly changing best practices and standards. Greenland is looking closely at Norway's oil and gas system as a model, particularly its investment fund, but also intends not to ignore social issues stemming from development, Olsen said. The last thing we want to do is to become a spectator, he emphasized. That's Watching Government for this week. In Washington, I'm Nick Snow for Oil and Gas Journal.